With the limitless potential provided with Minecraft, it would simply be only a matter of time until people began to use it for things outside of mining or crafting, presenting complex human quandaries, seeing how far one will push another to get what they need, and seeing just who is built up to snuff, not to survive against radical changes in nature or circumstance. Zombies across dimensions and even within the depths of a war have all taken the center stage as for themes regarding these types of videos where players will typically simulate civilization. This being a fancy term for simply building kingdoms, villages, or small communities and eventually going to war with one another as decreed by the host or YouTuber in question, obviously with the different changes depending on the situation. Sometimes nature pushes a way ahead whilst others have to force conflict upon another. If you wanted to find out how things came about in this regard, then I'll link Skyboi's video in the description, which I happened to stumble across during the making of this video. At the core of my video, it is to dissect this topic I have in mind, which does a poor job at replicating what has been set out by others and wastes the potential within it. However, there is another aspect of Civilization videos which is sometimes added but not always necessary, considering a good story and strong personalities can lead a video into success without adding mutated mobs or guns for that matter. Though when sprinkling in these aspects, you should make the most of them where you can if it's going to be a minor mod for world building or used for the purpose of forcing conflict upon the players trapped within the scenario. A popular one I found myself falling into would have been that surrounding Escape and Run Parasites, which was a mod popularized for what it brought to the table. Parasitic beings which would take over your Minecraft world through morphing mobs into horrific creatures held together by their original skin and whatever had evolved within their system thanks to Call of the Hive. As time goes on, they take different forms and move away from being regular Minecraft entities to be something of bodily horror as skin stitches together or bones get fused together to form club-like appendages. I could continue explaining, but I do want to make a different video to spread open everything within, and for the most part it would be unnecessary to dive into. As you may be able to tell, I am a large fan of the content, as some may know. This leads me to the topics which combine Escape and Run Parasites with a Minecraft Civilization video, leaving to players simulate a civilization in a parasite apocalypse, which is basically what it says on the tin, more or less. Now, before we go further, yes, this video is 2 years old, and yes, Greenfee has stopped making Minecraft content at this point too. I don't want them to receive any harassment from this video, as it is simply reviewing the content to see where things went wrong. I have no issues with the guy, and he seemed to really care for the content he was making to begin with, so I'm going to come at this with a softer tone instead of dunking on the green. That being said, the video is made up of 10 players and 10 days as a parasite threat rears its head and forces the players within to seek out shelter and weapons, which culminates in chaos, only spurred on by a secret killer in their midst. Though this is eventually weighed down by the errors which bubble to the surface soon enough. For my actual analysis, I'll be doing it semi-live, with it being cut down between scenes where I am not speaking or something along those lines, but a shortened analysis will be present at the end too, where I wrap everything up in a bow.
Players will elect a leader, build a society, and survive a parasite doomsday.
Hang on. See all these parasites here? I don't want to spoil it early, but these are literally the only parasites which I used within the video itself. This is like nearly 3 years old, this video, and I will take that into consideration. But there was still primitive parasites, adapted parasites, pure parasites, but there's something right at the end which really miffs me. But with the leader stuff, again, that doesn't really matter, because that concept kind of gets lost in translation throughout the video. Not even like it's used for anything or it's forgotten about, it's just completely blank.
A parasite doomsday, but one of the players is working against the rest, and if everyone else dies, they win.
The betrayal aspect is, in the world of parasites, it is like so moot. There is no need for there to be someone to do like betrayal stuff, because the parasites basically do it all themselves. They break blocks, they're strong enough to kill quietly and quickly, and you need all the help you get in this mod. So having a betrayal person or a backstabber, especially with how little it's used. Literally, he dies, the betrayal person dies first. Like, he doesn't do anything, like, throughout the entire video. And then you see at the end what happens to him. But I'll wait until we get to that part to actually show it.
I think there's a cave and all of the parasites are spawning down there.
Oh mush.
They're all spawning inside the cave.
Okay, we need to figure out a better place.
Alright. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking mostly at the other cave bits. You also know a lot of drop blocks. I'm pretty sure for some reason they've made it so assimilated entities can burrow through the ground. Why have they done that? I don't know. It's usually something reserved for primitive and upwards. Anything else should not have the ability to break blocks. But I don't know why the guy Green felt the need to make them be able to break blocks as well.
Oh, and I forgot to mention this before, but each day the parasites get stronger and harder.
I don't know what he means by this. Like, there's no... It's not like they evolve like in other scenarios. It's literally just a plateau. Like, besides at the end where they introduce beacons, which do absolutely nothing but spread like infested blocks. They do nothing at all, which is a shame considering how, like, at the start of any other playthrough it's just regular parasite, but by the end you're forced to deal with beacons. They become a central point of the later game because they generate biomes, nodes, spawn a lot of the stuff that would otherwise take a lot longer to spawn, and help ramp up phases and add tension where it would otherwise be lost because, you know, there would be no way for them to spawn en masse. It gives a reason for the player to actually leave the home to, like, defend their area and make sure it's not being riddled with infection. But obviously in this scenario it's used for fake tension again because they just stand like pillars doing nothing, which is a shame considering they could actually spawn waves later down the line, which would have made for a more impactful ending, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
But now it's time for the first world event, Hunger.
Okay, world events, they're a good addition because it's not done every night, so it doesn't become repetitive or ideas become, you know, lukewarm. But at least with on the first or the second day having hunger be in effect forced onto the main cast of 10 people, at least then it forces them to go explore the map a bit, which is clever in of itself.
The election results came in, and I'm proud to... Wow, yeah, see, he already knows who it is. Pushed Lem, congratulations.
Again, I'm gonna spoil it, but the leader does fuck all. There's no group decisions made. You barely notice him, like, as a leader. You only realize he's the leader because he's wearing a golden helmet. That's basically it. Especially at the end where I think it's like day 9, they just go, yeah, okay, we're just a small community now. We do everything by community option, instead of it being the leader who actually chooses this or that, or at least leads the charge or anything else. There's no point of them having a leader because it doesn't influence anything within the video or the story itself. The election also it goes by way too fast for it to really matter, and I think that's a bigger issue, that you're supposed to be able to like, in a lot of scenarios you become familiar with characters or people or players within the game itself. In this video I barely remember anyone. He barely says anyone's name. The only guy I know is Daniel because he's the killer or backstabber, and Pop because he's the fucking Green says his name once while he was blowing up the wall. Everyone else, I can't remember their fucking name. I'm pretty sure he just announced the leader's name and I've already forgotten it. They're all faceless, and if you took away all, like, the Minecraft names, I wouldn't even know. No one gets an introduction. A majority of the cast don't have, like, memorable traits. No one plays any roles besides, like, the leader, but even then, barely recognize the leader. Barely just about recognize who the killer is because of how it's all handled, I suppose.
With this recent discovery, the search party traversed back to the watchtower.
I know he's appeared in a couple of panning shots already, but you could see Green, or at least a moderator, up in the corner, and it really breaks the immersion when you have a floating player just being chilling up in the corner, even though it's supposed to be like a panning shot of the guy running back to the base and be like, hey everyone, we got somewhere we can move to. Was there no way to, like, mask it, or like I might have even done it in editing, but it just feels a bit lazy. Not even doing, like, reshoots, because you don't need everyone to pile back into the server. Just have a panning shot of the guy running across the rail tracks back to the base.
Sturdy stone.
I'll
You mind if I
put some
like
food in there,
break
too.
this?
We're gonna base it.
It's sturdy stone. Parasites can't break it.
Let's.
He is not wrong. In regular, like any other regular playthrough, as far as I can tell, pure parasites and upwards are the only things that can break iron plating and sturdy stone and those types of blocks. Where does that land on Green's assimilated can break block scale? I would assume they can't. At least there was some knowledge put into it that can be transferred to any other regular playthrough.
You think it's water safe to drink?
This is a better example of the assimilated tunneling, because I originally thought this was like the players who had like dug down and dug into the base, and you can tell this was back during the early days because little blocks have dropped. It's not like the cysts of current day. It'll get stored on the entity, and when the entity dies or they get like too full, it'll explode off them and like sit, and then the cyst will eat them all. In this time, the cysts kind of act differently. They act more like magnets. They're taking all the entities around them that could be picked up and store them and break them down then, which, you know, it wasn't the best system, because if a chest dropped or got broken, there was very little chance you'd be able to pick your stuff up.
Actually, this is pretty cool. I like this. This is nice.
You can get 2 entrances just in case one's overflow. And also about my house, you know, I tried to step down from the tower up there.
It's beautiful.
I will say, if there's anything, the comedy in this video is quite refreshing. I quite enjoy the comedy in when it does pop up. If it's a host and the player, it's pretty good banter. If it's between two of the players, it's usually good banter as well. I do quite enjoy that part of the video that's been just weaved in to some extent. It's pretty good glue to, you know, bring sections together, more or less.
So I think we guys should like come to a vote.
Also, I don't know if this was like told to the players. It just says hardcore mode enabled, and like he only mentions that hardcore has been enabled in like one of the later days. I don't know if he mentions it initially just outside of the video, but it's not much of an announcement. Like, he could have said it in the video to the people playing, and at least then it's more of an announcement than just going, hey, it's now hardcore mode. Actually feels more like a scenario where maybe just like fucking over the tanoids or in the box, it will now, like in the chest that spawned, it'd be like, congratulations on winning. Yeah, it's now hardcore mode, so be careful and hope your base stands the test of whatever the parasites throw at them, yada yada yada, that sort of thing.
The forest here. Looks pretty cool, right? It's infested with parasites, and today a team set out to explore it.
He does credit Forge Labs in the description, but if anything felt like Forge Labs, it would be this bit. How he explains it, the music in the background, you know, just like the whole idea. This oozes Forge Labs, but it also feels quite contrived. Like this was just randomly shoved in. Like there was no note being like, hey, there's a laboratory in the forest that you should check out for better loot. Like they could have definitely put something like a map or a book or something to give like a general idea instead of just being like, oh, there's a new location. There's no in between. It's just like they just get magically told, yeah, there's a laboratory out here, you should go check it out. It's like they need a new dungeon to go to, you know, tension. It doesn't feel genuine.
There is another elevator.
Are these meteorite swords?
Okay, meteorite swords are actually one of the best weapons in the game.
I do feel like this is a missed opportunity. I don't know at this point if No Cubes has started actually being able to be used with the mod. If the escape and run like weapons add-on was actually able to be used when or this version of the mod with escape and run parasites, then this was a real missed opportunity, because this is a laboratory. You could have added some lore if you could use the actual parasite weaponry, because you could have had like bolster claws, you could have had pestilent scythes. I mean, at the same time, the meteor sword isn't that bad. It's somewhat alien, because you could link it back again to the parasites and say, you know, maybe they came down from a meteorite. At the same time, this whole video could have done with like an underlying narrative. It didn't have to be much, but like some reason for them to go to the laboratory. What's happening to the world? Why is a meteorite sword in the laboratory down in the depths? You know, where did this parasite come from? Yada yada yada. I feel like that could have, like, the story element could have helped break things up a bit more.
But the night wasn't over yet, and the parasites were getting harder.
I don't know if he like changes or modifies the parasite's configuration within the files itself, so that assimilated creatures do an increase of damage. All they do is just make them spawn more. That's like how they define the difficulty when they say, oh, they get stronger. I guess they get stronger in numbers because they don't do anything else with the idea. They don't start spawning primitives, pures, or it's not even like they implement the assimilated Enderman to do anything either.
This is their home, not ours.
No!
I believe there's supposed to be 10 people. Where have the other 2 gone? Have they just died off screen? If it's a small civilization, even if people like die offhandedly, you should be keeping track of them all. Like, it makes no sense why we're now on to number 7. Why our first one shown on screen is number 7 when we don't know who the other 2 were when they died. It makes the cast feel, you know, irrelevant if you're just gonna make them die without consequence or have no actual notice when they do die. And yeah, this is the killer. This is the killer, by the way. As far as the video has shown, he's done no sabotage, he's done no slight killings, unless, you know, he did kill the other people, but we don't get shown that. So for the most part, he's been redundant in his role. I don't know if he got hit off by the fucking guy up here. I think his name's Pop Pop. Unless he got hit off by Pop Pop, he just walked off the edge for some reason. I don't even know if he had a ranged weapon to be fighting with.
Why am I hitting you? I'm just trying to break the block.
Then conflict started amongst the players.
Do that again. I'm not stopping.
I don't get this either, because this is definitely, it feels forced. This is forced conflict because it doesn't lead to anything. Nothing happens because of it. There's like no shift in morale. It's not like one of these is the backstabber. The backstabber killed himself. So it's just weird. It's very weird for this to be involved. Like if it was a glitch, like he tried to say, it's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to punch the block and I'm hitting you. It's like, you'd have thought the guy would intervene.
In these dark times, all I ask is that I do not be second in command, but rather we all run this community as one person.
So there we go. The leader gets his role liquidated. I mean, it was not like he was doing much anyways.
Oh my goodness.
There's some.
This is what made me want to make like this reaction, this video. It was the fact you have so many different parasites to choose from. So many, and you go and use like the mutant zombie. Why are you using a mutant zombie in a parasite mod? You have pure, adapted, and primitive. They do so many different things. One climbs and has the ability to pull players. One can go invisible. One can like charge up and strike rapidly at a target. And one's a support. And there's no variation of that. Like even on the last couple days, they still don't pull away from the fact that it's just assimilated creatures. Most of the time, there is no tension. Like, as soon as they started getting into, like, the end game, they basically become unkillable. They've got a high-up base. They've got no sort of enemy that flies at them. So they can basically just sit up there and do nothing. If they wanted to, they could just take out the bottom layer of their base that's attached to the ground, and they'd be safe. Because what's going to get to them? Nothing can climb, nothing can build, and nothing can fly. There's nothing that would actually get to them.
Oh no, another one.
Yeah, and then he dies. For some reason, he's down there. Why is he down there? Who knows? He must have just fallen off because there's nothing that would have gotten up there to hit him. Look, there's 2 level 4 beacons. And you can tell they've been spawned in because there's nothing growing at the base of them. If they were spawned naturally, hell on earth would be happening right now. But no, they've been spawned in for artificial tension. I'm not going to lie. Couldn't even put it in like, put one there or put them on infested land because he's literally out there on the mud.
You guys are making like renovations and stuff.
Don't know why they felt the need to like make renovations. It's not like anything got up here to destroy it before. Like it would have been a bit different if like a couple primitive yellow ice had come through and like smacked up the walls and broken the roof or something, but nothing has done anything. There's no reason for them to renovate besides being like, ooh, at least it looks nice and it looks well fortified. And even then, nothing changes after this night anyways, when it's supposed to be like the last night.
I told you. I am very lucky to be alive. I killed a stage 4 back in.
Oh my, this is so...
They're just watching. They're supposed to be the hardest night of their Minecraftian lives And then just sat here watching as the guy upstairs just go pew 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 with a fucking rocket launcher. There's no stakes in this last battle because they're too strong to die, and their base is so strong that they're not going to break it. And, you know, even if they could break it, nothing could fly up and get them. So it's completely pointless to be like, you know, this is the hardest night, when realistically they faced hardship in probably like day 4, 5, and 6 more than they did now, because they're too powerful in every regard.
Oh, and one more thing, the player at the start I told you about, that was Dan.
You guys left me to die.
No one left him to die. He jumped out the fucking window like a dipshit and died. It was his own fault. Why? You left me to die. No, you killed yourself.
Now, I'll have my revenge.
What?
And that's it. That's the end of the video. I'll take it away to my editing self, but for the most part, this video has been a shame to watch because of the missed potential within the crew and the host, but also the utilization of the world and the parasites themselves and the lack of story. Even I'll do a good and a bad, but you'll see in the final bit. I'll cover both the pros and cons briefly and be more concise with what I was outlining. Such pros being that of the banter, the construction of the map, and the world events as well. No doubt it was always a benefit when seeing Green Feet interacting with the cast, and by extension them interacting with each other too, because oftentimes they were keeping good morale even if poking fun at each other. It's certainly easy to tell that a majority knew each other to some extent, and the small cast meant that they would be spending a lot of time getting to know each other. As a whole, it never felt bland or boring when everyone was chatting or mingling amongst one another, even though I wasn't exactly privy to who was who. On the more technical side, the map itself certainly seems built in a way that provides plenty for the players to dig into for the time allotted, whilst balancing biomes with structures. It very much matches the world trying to be made, and the many structures help with that when providing a place to set up a more permanent base or a dungeon to explore at that too. Sure, a couple details were overlooked, like the storage containers being empty, but having sections partly taken over by parasitic material and constructing a whole laboratory to give a general idea as to what may have been going on to cause an outbreak. In the same vein, the world events provide an unexpected problem which would need to be adapted to quickly in order to minimize damages or death as a whole. Sure, they have become a staple of most Civilization videos, but the implementation means that they weren't overly spammed or lacking in any sense, with them matching the difficulty of current endeavors too. Something simple and easy to conquer at the start with hunger before ramping up in severity with larger spawn pools. If we flip it over to the cons though, I feel like the potential of the parasites was definitely wasted. There was a lack of story to tie up things, and the players themselves had no real structure either. Now, as someone who's been subject to the wrath of parasites on many occasions now, having an event which relies on them being a threat and only using the assimilated ones is just poor planning above all else. Green Fee says the parasites will get stronger, but there is no curve to detect that because we can't see if the stats change, and not using the stronger parasites that are in the mod just feels like a wasted opportunity, if not more work to not include, especially when you consider that he apparently coded in a separate entity which is like of an assimilated human, a mutated zombie. Fucked. It doesn't at all stand out in the video and largely fades into the background after its first panning shot, because it effectively does everything the previous assimilated parasites had done beforehand. As a whole, this unwillingness to use other parasites is why the end game suffers so much, because the lack of variation makes the base on stilts basically untouchable, where a Yellow Eyes would have given them an active threat to deal with. This is why I was irked by the usage of beacons at all, considering they sat there doing nothing but spreading the infested blocks, which didn't do much of anything in of itself either. Moving on to something less based in the mod pack itself, the story within the video is paper thin, if non-existent, considering there isn't much done with it besides telling the audience what's going on throughout the video. It leaves things being somewhat disjointed and only being held together by the day tracker in the corner, as nothing is expanded upon, like the circumstances or what the end goal is besides just surviving 10 days at this point. It didn't have to be anything too in-depth, but something would have been nice just to tie everything together whilst we're just left with random locations with no reason as to why a laboratory is just out in the woods or what the players hope to achieve by surviving all of this. On the same note as the players, I mentioned a lack of notoriety between them all, and as far as I can tell it still sticks, considering I still can't remember the names of the people involved despite watching it 3 times over now. The leader doesn't really do anything with his role considering no decisions were made under his lead, and the murderer slash backstabber slash whatever name I gave him just doesn't do anything either to disrupt the group and dies first, not counting whatever happened to the other players which mysteriously vanished. It somewhat relates back to the story aspect, but it means the deaths carry no weight besides being a number which goes down where a player fumbles considering all the deaths came from their own idiocy or each other. Closing things out, this video certainly had potential for this to be a unique experience considering the smaller cast at hand and relation they share with Greenfee, but the overall gaps left from not utilizing things accurately leaves me wanting more. Again, Greenfee does not post anymore and has been away from the channel for quite some time now, but if people were to draw inspiration from his work, then it would be wise to have at least some video picking at the errors. Dually, don't harass anyone from this video or the creator himself. But in any case, I've been VincentSkullMan, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully.